So this is what we're making, a bangle with a fluted edge and a smooth top and inside. So this is one that's a little more obvious, not quite smooth on the top. So you can see I've just started with 3mm square wire and twisted it and then passed it through the rollers. So get the length that you need, measure the inside of your bangle, add 3mm, multiply by 3.14. Make sure the wire's annealed, and then we put it in a vise, grab the end and twist it. Now, the ends will perish from grabbing them with the pliers and the vise, but after you twist it, when you pass it through the rolling mill, it'll make it longer again, so you'll have plenty on the ends to cut off. So I'm just cutting it to length using my small bolt cutters, and then we'll anneal this. The twisting is very straightforward. Clamp one end into your vise, grab the other end with self-locking pliers, and twist. It can be either right or left hand. Try to get the same twist on both ends. I'm going to do a nice tight twist because I want a lot of ripples on the edges. If it twists more at this end, turn it around, grab it, and twist it from the other end. After you have it twisted, you need to pass it through the half-round rollers to get that profile. If you don't have half-round rollers on your rolling mill, you can roll it through the flat part. So you just open it up, put the metal in, snug, take it out, give it half a turn, go through the rollers. So just to show you, I'm going through the flat rollers on this one. And you hold the end to keep it from turning. Otherwise it'll twist. So another half turn. And here you have a piece that is smooth top and bottom with the fluted edges. So now we'll cut this to length, anneal it because it's well and truly work hardened, and then we'll solder it. So cut the ugly end off, and I usually cut on a mark that I can cut on the same mark on the other end so that they line up. So cut the ugly end off, then measure your length and cut the other end. Saw. File the ends flat, and I just brace it against my bench peen. And you can see how I've cut the ends so that they should match up. So now we'll anneal it. Check it for length again, make sure it's the right length. If you needed to make it a little bit longer, you could just go back in a rolling mill, stretch it a little bit, but this will be fine. Okay, this is annealed. You could hallmark this now while it's flat, and just in the middle. And if you're ever curious, the stamp, if you can see the mark of what the stamp is, that means that that's straight up and down. So make sure your hallmarks are on the inside, and this will be soft enough that you can just form it with your fingers. And we'll get it so that the ends come together, and we'll make sure that they line up properly. Yeah. So now we'll just get a tension fit, make sure that there's no twist, Yeah, I can live with that. And then we'll solder it, hard solder. So make sure you have a good join. So what you want is for this to hold itself in position and perfectly lined up. Okay, we're out of the pickle. Rinse it, dry it, have a look, and if you did a decent job, you won't have much cleanup to do. Now, you need to get all of the solder off when you're sanding this back, because the solder is a different alloy than your metal and it tarnishes at a different rate. So you want to sand this back so that it's just the finest line possible of solder, invisible basically. So round it up on your bracelet mandrel before you start tidying up your solder, because it's easier to work on the top of a curve. Rawhide hammer. Make sure it's round, and then we're going to make sure it's flat, because it's got a bit of a wow in it, just by putting it on a wooden block or a wooden bench, tapping it on the side, checking it to make sure that it's flat. So you just continue tapping, and you always tap it on the wood, because the wood's forgiving, and the wood will flex a little bit so that you end up with your nice, perfectly straight bangle. So now we'll sand it back. I had a little bit of a blob of solder there, so I used my flat hand file, followed the curve. On the inside, I'm using my half-round ring file, and I'm just scrubbing it across the join as I push. So now all of the solder is gone on those two spots, and we can sand. And on the sides, I'm going to use the abrasive wheel. I know I use these a lot, but they're really handy because it'll fit right in the groove. And brace your hands together, because you want to be able, you're basically carving. So you're just carving the solder away on that little spot. Because you want it to disappear. And when later on when you polish this, you don't want to be able to see where the solder is. So just brush it across the join. You don't want to make a groove. You just want to disappear the solder. Now tidy these up with your 400 grade paper, and you can either polish this one on your Tripoli wheel, because you have enough flat area that the fire scale will come off fairly easily. Don't worry about the sides. You will polish the sides, but don't worry about the fire scale on the sides or the inside. And there you go. So this is the result. Fluted edge, shiny top and bottom. Now, if I were you, I'd make it just a little bit longer than I need, so I would have enough for a ring shank to make a matching ring for the bracelet, and or a set of earrings. Extra metal is always handy, because we can always turn it into more and different jewelry. Ciao. This one's for sunshine, by the way.